Hi everyone, it's 2024 and I'm going to give my opinion and predictions on the GTA housing market. This is based on Trev data, personal experience as a realtor, personal experience as an investor, and lastly, just what my friends and peers are doing. I used to do the entire country, so Canadian housing breakdowns, but there's too much to talk about in one video and I don't really have any insight into the local cities, areas, and job markets. If you're wondering, hey, why should I listen to this good-looking bald guy? What does he know? Well, in March 2020, I made a video based on my experience that the Toronto market will be fine, and in fact, COVID and low rates will increase prices. Just do me a favor, go back and read all the comments stating that there will be a 50% crash and prices will go back down to 2006 levels. If you want, you can check out Reddit or Twitter for 2022 comments and threads about Canadian housing or Toronto housing. As soon as rates went up, people were saying that there'll be a crash in the spring, and then that didn't happen. And then it moved to summer 2022, that didn't happen. And then fall, and everyone's like, oh, just wait, the crash will be in the fall. It takes 6 months for prices to adjust. Then 2023 came and went, still no crash. Now the narrative is 2027, when all the 5-year mortgage renewals are up. I'll talk about mortgage renewals later, but if you think there will be another 30% crash in prices, you're just not paying attention. If you're in the Greater Toronto area and you're looking to buy or sell, please reach out. I'd love to be a realtor. I have a team of 3, so we have experience with any type of property and any location if you're interested. All right, let's get into it. My prediction for interest rates in 2024, the Bank of Canada will keep stable interest rates. This is based on absolutely nothing. The Bank of Canada says rate cuts, but I don't believe them. Just as they said 2 years ago that rates won't increase and then they increased, or when they said the increases are done and then they decided to increase again. So regardless of what they say, Canadian interest rates are related to US rates. I don't think they'll go in different directions. If the US raises, then Canada won't cut. In my opinion, since the US won't be cutting in 2024, I believe we'll have stable rates in 2024, but that doesn't mean mortgage rates won't change with the banks trying to price in cuts or predict where rates will be. In 2025, I see a 50 to 75 basis point cut in rates. It'll put everyone in a safer range, in my opinion. One data point, actually, unemployment is still low and the super high spending might suggest holding these high rates for longer. Rates haven't been high enough to cause pain. People are still spending like money is free. It isn't painful yet, even though I cringe every time I see my grocery bill. Another point about rates, Toronto or Ontario is just one data point the government looks at or might look at. If our situation gets dire and we're losing or struggling, but the rest of the country is fine, like Quebec and Alberta price-wise, they're doing much better. If the entire country isn't struggling, I don't see anyone caring about Toronto prices or foreclosures. Further to that, it isn't their mandate or their priority to cap housing prices. They should be trying to manage inflation, even though they're doing a very poor job of it. But I've complained enough about interest rates in other videos. I'll post them somewhere. Let's talk about mortgage renewals and foreclosures. People will be pinched by mortgage renewals. The assumption that everyone will go bankrupt is annoying. My most recent client was quoted 5.09% for a 3-year fixed, which is over double their initial rate of 2.24%. For reference, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. I have 3 mortgages. My mortgage renewals in 2025 will suck, but instead of getting a new car, which I wanted, a 911 GT3, I'll just skip or postpone or never get one since it's a bad decision anyway. I know some people will struggle, but a lot of people will just make sacrifices or just manage their lavish spending. Canadians really care about owning, and it's a big prestigious thing, especially if it's the golden goose, the detached house, which is a prized possession. They'll try to make it work. In the meantime, while this isn't applicable to everyone, a lot of my clients have gotten promotions or are more further advanced in their career. They're earning more, way more than they were when they first got their house. So while mortgages increased, none of my clients will lose their houses upon renewal. What they can also do, just a side note, banks don't want foreclosures. They'll try to work with clients as best they can to keep the interest coming. They could extend the mortgages. If you have 15 years left, you can technically get a 25-year mortgage for the remainder of the mortgage instead of a higher rate on the initial amount, if that makes sense. Not saying that this is a good idea or the best idea, but it is an option to avoid foreclosures. Pre-con units, pre-construction condos. I don't know why anyone bothers. I don't see prices coming down. I don't like the idea of buying pre-construction units just due to the delays and just how everything's out of your control. Construction costs are shooting up. Builders and developers have to continue to charge enough to make a decent profit. So like what, $1,400 a square foot? I don't see it coming down ever. It's just a sad reality of inflation. What I do see though is assignment sales coming in under the original ask price. I don't think banks will value these units at what the buyers initially paid, so they won't get the mortgage and they'll be forced to sell at a loss. That was an easy topic. Lastly, prices, which is what everyone cares about, I guess. Where will Toronto prices go? Well, first, let's look at where they've been. Here's a graphic every realtor gets. The peak was February 2022. We are down 18% on average from then. But more recently, let's look at year over year. December 2022 to 2023, prices are actually up 3%. I don't know why. Condo prices are down, but they've been outperformed by the increase in detached prices. That's why sometimes looking at the average might be deceiving. You have to look at the average in the area and region that you're buying. So I'm just doing general Toronto prices. I would advise caution when reading these sensational headlines. Everything I see is clickbait, providing no value. It's kind of annoying. Let's look at this headline from last year. Prices to drop 12% across Canada. And I just got a recent report from the Canadian Real Estate Association showing that prices actually increased 0.1%. So let's just call it flat. So take everything you see with a grain of salt. I do like that headline though. Even with a 12% drop, it still remains unaffordable for many. Even though prices in Toronto dropped 18% from February 2022 to January 2024, which is when I'm filming this, it's actually more expensive now. Take a look at this snippet. This is the average price in February 2022, $1.334 million at 1.8%. The payment is $4,417. Then when I use today's average price and today's mortgage rate, a price of $1.082 million at 5.54% pays $5,304. So price came down, rates went up. It's still more expensive on a cash outflow basis than it was a few years ago. Obviously, if you have cash to buy it, then this doesn't affect you, but I'm just taking into account most people would need a mortgage. Okay, so I didn't actually make a prediction yet. I think Toronto prices next year, when I do this video all over again, the average price will be 1.02 million compared to 1.08 million. I think prices will go down another 5%. And I think this will be the regional bottom in terms of GTA prices. I think we'll hit a low in 2024. Then in 2025, when the extra 30 million immigrants start buying houses, Bank of Canada will cut rates, that 75 basis point that I mentioned, and houses will begin their upward trend all over again. If you think detached houses are expensive and should come down just because you can't afford it, wouldn't the same logic apply for like a Rolls Royce? I can't afford it, therefore prices will come down to what I can afford, right? I know it's an annoying argument, but whatever. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching and tune in to the next one.